Hi, Dan here from Academy 365. A bit of a fun one for you here today, and hopefully a little bit of inspiration if you're looking to do something different with your site pages in SharePoint Online. Why I'm doing this is because I was thinking that, it struck me that we're surrounded by great UI design in the websites we visit, the apps on our phones or our tablets, basically anything digital. A lot of money is being invested in the UI design and the UX research that backs that up to create these beautiful user experiences. But when it comes to SharePoint and particularly intranets, we tend to play it safe and stick to the same design patterns and layouts again and again. When really there's no harm in exploring and trying to, take the learnings from these companies that are doing massive investment in UI and take it and build something similar in SharePoint. So I said I'd set myself a challenge, and the challenge was to find a company who's well known for their design aesthetic, look at their website, find a page that's somewhat feasible to build in SharePoint and build it. And to take things a step further, do it only using one web part, which is the text web part. The text web part is one of my favorite web parts for structuring a page from a UI perspective. It's not very functional, but to structure content, I think is brilliant. So we're going all in on the text web part in this video. So, if you stick around, watch the end of the video, what you can expect to come away with is maybe a fresh perspective on how you can use the text web part to structure content on your site. We'll look at font size, font weight, we'll look at font color, all the various things that we can, as well as images, how we use images within the text web part to really structure the page and give it an Apple-like look and feel that you can take then into your intranet or your SharePoint site pages. We'll also look at how we can structure the page using the sections, section backgrounds and column layouts to create really engaging sections on our pages that focus on a particular topic without being distracted by the other sections. So yeah, hopefully you'll learn a lot, and if not, hopefully you have fun looking at me struggle in trying to build an Apple page in SharePoint. So let's get to it. Okay, so this is where we ended up. On the left, we have Apple's actual website and the Apple Watch page, and on the right, we have our SharePoint version. So I don't think we did too bad, right? But there were certainly some compromises that we just couldn't get around. But we'll get through them as we go. But just to give you a quick tour of what we have these two hero sections here, and then we come down and we're focusing on the Apple Watch Series 8, and we have our version of it here. I took most of the images from Apple's website, but some of them didn't have transparent background, so I just had to, use Google and get as close as I could. But I think you get the idea. It's similar enough, okay? So then we come down with the Apple Watch SE, and then we have the Apple Watch SE down here, all looking good. And then we have this section down here where we're comparing the different variations, and I was quite happy with this one, how it worked out, and I could certainly see how you might do something similar in an intranet offering where you're maybe showing different devices that you can get from IT, or compare different offerings or services, whatever it's going to be, a comparison at the end of the day. So we have Apple's variations here, and then we have the same in SharePoint, and we can look at all of the features and compare the difference between them. Apple went on for ages. I kind of gave up after this point because it was the same thing again and again. And then we come down to this section here, and we've got a pretty nice looking image here. And I could have cheated and just took a whole image, but that defeats the purpose. I wanted this bit to actually be text over here and still give the impression that we have a section background, even though that's not really available yet at the time of recording. So my version of it ended up something like this, and I'll show you how I did it when we get to it. Apple's page went on again, but it was kind of more of the same, so I gave up at this point. I think the challenge in my head was accepted, but you can slate me in the comments below if you think I gave up too soon. So with all that being said, that's what we're building. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's all the text web part, so you'll see how I went about that. So let's do it. Okay, so we'll start off with a blank site, which I have here, okay? So we got to make this look something like this. Totally fresh communication site, SharePoint Online, out of the box, ready to go. And what we're going to do is, well, we want a landing page for this because Apple don't have a big title up the top. That wouldn't work for us as if we had built a page inside of the site that's not the home page. Now, in a real world scenario, you might want a page like this, which is just a page within your site and not necessarily the home page. So the way I would do that, if that's your case, we won't use this one. We'll pick another page and we'll make it so that it doesn't have a header section, which is what we want. So the trick to do that is go to pages and come into here where you have home. So home is a special kind of page template where it doesn't have a header section where all other site pages will have it. But what you can do is you can select home and you can say copy to. So we're just duplicating it really. Copy here and it'll ask us, do we want to keep both or replace? Let's keep both. And now we have an exact copy of the home page, which is not actually the home page. So the home page can be lots of other things, and this page is going to be specific for our Apple Watch. So let's come in here and let's basically get rid of everything because we don't need any of it. I'll turn comments off for now. And so now we start, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a one column section, and now we're going to get busy with our text web part. So add web part, and we're going to say text. And now we need to start adding things in, okay? So what I've found in doing this in a lot of different ways, it's easiest to get all your text in first and then add in your images here and there. So let's go with it. Our adventure awaits, no caps. And then come down here, shift return just to bring us straight below without paragraph. We're going to say 799. And then we're going to have a buy button. And then we're going to have our learn more. And then we're going to have watch the film. Okay, now Apple over here have this little chevron and this play icon. We can do our first little hack, which is add in an emoji. So I'll right click emoji and symbols. I'm on a Mac. You'll have something similar on Windows if you right click, but I'm just going to pick an arrow. It's the closest that I have to it, chevron. And then over here, same again, and I'm going to click this little arrow, right? And that's kind of my version of a play icon. So then we look at it, okay, so what do we want to do? Let's format our text a little bit. So let's make this large. Come down here, and I think 42 looks good. We can give it bold, and we're getting there. And then we'll get this 799. It says 10, but it's lying, it's not. But we're going to make it 18, which it is, and we can give it bold as well. Looking good. So now we want to get this buy button in here. The challenge was to do with a text web part, so I'm going to stick to that. But realistically, what I'd do is I would probably have this here and then put in a button web part and then another text web part for the links, so the button is an actual button. But what we'll do is I have all the images I've taken from the Apple site, as well as a blue button that I created as an image. So if I drag that over here anywhere in the web part and I just hover there, we get it in here like so. It's too big, so just drag it down, make it nice and small, and actually what we'll do is select everything and just center align, and then we're getting there. Now I know what you're saying, well that's a picture, that's not a button, so that's cheating. But what we can actually do is if we select the picture we just put in there and we click this, we can put in a link, so then anyone clicks on that, it's going to act like a button. So, you know, it works. That'll do. So I'll take this out of here. And then what we want to do is we want to get this up here. Now this is an actual logo, it's an image. So I have it over here in my assets, so I'll just drag it over. And again, just put it in roughly where you want. Sometimes it'll go in wherever it wants and you have to just work with it. Maybe retype some of your text and stuff like that, but look, not the end of the world. So we do that, make a mistake, and then we'll come back here. I need to get rid of these gaps. So whenever you add in an image, you're going to get little gaps above or text below. Just watch for it, right? And get rid of them basically to shrink it all down and make it nice. So this looks good, and then we just need to make these links. So if you highlight the text, come up here to the link, and then you can put in whatever you want. I'll just put in google.ie, Ireland's version of Google. I'm Irish if you didn't know. So there we have, and I'm going to click save. So that's a link, and then we'll come up here and we'll do the exact same thing again. google.ie, and we are good. What we might do that we're here, well, let's save as draft anyway, because we'll be doing that a bit. Save as draft. That's what we have here. Looks like this, which is great. I just want to change the look of the site to a blue theme, which will give us these blue links rather than these kind of teal ones. So change the look, and I'm going to go to theme, and I'm going to pick blue, and they're blue there, very much like here. So that's a good nudge in the right direction. X out of this, and now we want to put in this big hero image. So I've prepared the image, so I have it here, Apple Hero. So I'm just going to put the page back into edit mode, and again, so I'm still in the text web part, right? Told you, text web part is brilliant. So get the Apple Hero, bring it in here and drop it somewhere like that. Give it a second, and there we go. So now we have the image in there, and again, let's save as draft as we go, so we keep monitoring the progress. So we've got the first hero section done, and we did it all with just the text web part. So I think that's pretty good, and I don't think people would think to do it that way. Now, of course, we could have done it text, button, text, image, web part, but you know, no harm to do with the text web part. So then we'll go on to our next section. We're going to build our version of this, which is similar but not exact, right? And another compromise, but I said that would happen. So we're going to add new section, one column, And what we're going to do is we're going to go to edit section and we're going to set it to a block color, the strong one, our theme one. And what we want to do is actually, I made a mistake there. It should be 2 columns, right? So we want 2 columns, an image on the left and text on the right. But again, we're using only text web parts. So I'm going to go text. And then the image I have for this, it's just a selection of Apple Watches, which I got from Google. So I'll drag it into my text web part. And there we have it there. And like I said before, sometimes you get these spaces above and below. So we can just get rid of them, tidy it up a bit. And we can resize it in a second if we want to. So we want to get this text then over here. And this text is actually very similar to the text up here because Apple are using the same kind of layout in lots of different areas. So we can take advantage of that and we can come over here and we can basically duplicate this web part and we can take this image and just, delete it out of here because we definitely don't need that. So then we can take this web part and pull it down here. And now we have our text, nearly ready to go. But what we'll do is I need to change out this image. So I'm going to select it and I can say change image and I can say change and then I can upload and I can come down here and I have series 8 open, brand, add image. And now we have that in there. And again, just resize it, make it nice. No extra spaces in there. That's good. And then we just change our text, right? So we have a healthy leap ahead. Okay, and I don't want it all on one line. I want it really like that. So I'll just go up like that and I'll say shift return, bring it down here, which is good. And this one is from 399. Brilliant. The blue button here on the blue background is not good. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that as well. So click that, hit the pencil. We'll give you this dialog, but just happens to already be open. So I'll go change. And I prepared a black button when I was going through this before. So I got a blue one and a black one. So I'm going to say open and then now I can see the button. So I'll say add image. So it comes in here, way too big, size it down and we're pretty good. And we'll have learn more and watch the film. I'll leave them there. Obviously you change them to different links. And this image here is slightly too big. So I'm going to click on it and just resize it to get everything a little bit more comfortable. So we'll say something like that. And just like that, right, 2 text web parts and we've built a version of this, which is not too dissimilar. So I'm happy enough with that. So we'll get this out of here. And then we'll come down to our next section, which is basically this section in reverse. We have the text over this side, the image over this side. So again, let's reuse the work that we've done. We're going to duplicate the section down here. And this time, let's change the background to a kind of this kind of neutral color. And all we're going to do is going to get this web part, pull it over here. And we'll get this web part and pull it over here. So this whole exercise is actually pretty quick. You do the work once and you just leverage it again and again. So I'm going to take this image, pencil gives me this dialog. So I'm going to say change. And now we're looking for the Watch SE. This one. Open, add image, size it down. And then this time the SE is a great deal to love. That's brilliant. Thanks, Apple. And this time we are from 249. Brilliant. And now I think we can go back to our blue button. So I'm going to click the button and then change. Upload. Blue. Open. Add an image. Bring it down. Very nice. Happy days. Over here, these buttons are side by side. I tried, but you can't really get it to go side by side, right? It just ends up looking funny, but I think we can go like that and it's pretty good. And then we just got to change this to the different image. So I'll click this and again, I'll say change, upload, a large selection of watches. Brilliant. Add in, give it a second, and then we're good. And if we want, again, we can resize it, which looks good, something like that. So, very quick. Let's save as draft and see where we are. So we've got our hero section up here, which is looking pretty good. Then we've got this section here. We have this, which is close. I'll take it. And then again, we have this here, which is meant to be very similar to this. And I think it is, I don't think it's too bad. And then the next section we want to come down to is this comparing the various watches. And again, we're going to do this very quick. So I come down here and what I want to do is first, I want a 1-column layout. And again, surprise, surprise, I'm using the text web part. And I want which Apple Watch is right for you. Question we should all ask ourselves every day. Get it in here, go center, and I might just bring it up a bit. 36 looks good. And then we just crack on, right? So we're going to have a new section in here, and this time we want 3 columns for our 3 watches. So again, I'm going to use a text web part. and I'm going to add in the text first, right? So we'll say Apple Watch Series 8 from $399. Okay, and then we're going to have our buy button, and then we're going to have our learn more link. And I'm going to just copy my learn more link from here. Brilliant. Let's get that buy button again. Bring them over here, make them nice and small. So let's just get everything centered. So I'll click here and I'll go center, which is good. Okay. And I think now we can bring in the image of the watch. So again, when I took all the images from Apple, they had them images there for me, which was great. So it's the Apple Watch Series 8. I'm going to bring that over and drop it in, actually up here, isn't it? Brilliant. So I'll make them probably that size, which is good. So this actually put it in as an image web part, which is cheating, right? So let me just take that out. Let me just bring a space in here. So we go like that. And now we're back within our text web part. Okay, so there's sometimes I won't cheat if I don't have to, and sometimes I will. And one of the times I will cheat is actually on this next little bit here, okay? See this little line we have here? I'm sure I could have done it with the text web part, but hopefully you're gonna forgive me this one, right? Because this is just structure, not content. So I'm gonna say add web part, and I am gonna put in a divider, which gives me a nice little line there, which, you know, I get it. It's a bit of a cheat, but you know, it's okay. So now that we have the little divider in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this just to build our other watches. So duplicate and then move this over here, and I'll probably do it one more time, and I'll bring it over here. And now it's a case of just editing the text really. So we have our Apple Watch SE. So just change that, and this is $249, as I said, bargain. And then we have our Apple Watch Ultra. Put it in here, and then we've gone up market with $799. And then look, same thing again that you've seen me do. Come in here, click the pencil, change the image, upload. We have our SE, add it in, and just resize it down. Get it as close as you think you are. When I put in the other dividers in here, we'll really be able to tell if we're in line, which is grand. So do the same thing here, change, and I have my Ultra. Okay, and then we have our divider. I'm just going to add it in here quickly and add it in here quickly. Dividers are kind of, they don't lie. They tell you if you are off. So I can see I have extra space in here, so I'll remove that, which came from when I put in the buy button. I don't know when I click here, it keeps jumping up the screen, but it seems to be what it wants to do tonight. Do it like that, and now we can see our lines are roughly in line, so I think that's kind of good enough. Next thing we want to do is add in this stuff in here, and you know, this line can just be one text web part because it's really just text and images. So let's go and do that. So I'm going to put in a text web part, and what I'm going to do is copy this text in here, which is cool, and I'm just going to drop these down to say 14, okay? And then I'm also going to change the font color. You can do this stuff in here or up here, whatever suits you. And I'll change this to this really light color, which is actually probably way too light, isn't it? Yeah. So let's change that slightly to our font color of this. And now we can see, like you can see it's the heading and then the sub element here, and so on and so forth. So we just do the same thing here. Now to see this space here, not too happy with that. It's way bigger than what's here. So what I'll do is I'll click here, backspace, bring it up here, and then shift return, which brings it down here. And then as for the little dashes that didn't come through, I'll shift return again. I'll just put one in, shift return again, and put in another one. And as soon as we center a line, it will see that it's starting to make sense. And then look, everything is quite straightforward after that. All we're doing is putting in our icons. So we have this watch icon. I have it prepared here. Again, it came from the Apple site, didn't do anything fancy. So I get it, resize it down a wee bit to something like that. And then we're just putting in the text, right? It's all handy enough and straightforward. So again, we're going to keep this. So you can see that's kind of darker than this, so we'll try and replicate that. So we'll keep this kind of black, and we'll make this our color like so, and we'll drop this down to 14, and we'll drop this to 16, let's say. So, you know, heading, subtitle, you just give it that hierarchy, and it really makes a difference. So I'll center this, which is good. And then we do the exact same thing over here. So I'm going to build the rest of what I've prepared to build down here, and we're just going to copy it over and over again. And it's as simple as that. So what we'll do is we'll hit return, and now we want our blood oxygen. So we'll get our blood oxygen and we'll bring it in here. And I've put it in the wrong place, but that's good. That's fine. No worries. All we have to do is drag it down to the right place, and we're in good shape, and we'll just resize it then again. and we just add our text, so blood, oxygen, app, and we have this 2, and we can make that 2 as like this here, and then drop this down to 16. One thing I suppose in general to watch out when you're building these types of things, you need to give enough space between them, right? So if we left it like this, it would kind of look like this is all one thing when it's not. So be afraid to hit a return, and now it's very clear that these are 2 separate things. And when we save it as draft, this add caption will be gone, so it'll be tighter, and it'll even be more relevant. So we just come down and we're going to add in the last one. We could add in the rest of them, it'll be the same, and I'd only bore you to tears if you were to sat here watch me doing it. So what we'll do is I'll just enter in the text first. So it's going to be, actually I'll copy the text just to make it a bit easier. Okay, and then what will we do with this? This is all kind of the same kind of stuff. So we're going to just drop this all to 16, which is good. And then we can add in our heart rate icon. So put it in, we want it in here, which is great. And like I said, give it that return just to give it enough space between the 2 of them so they are separate. And we'll drop the size of this down. And I think we have 1 too many in here. And that looks good, and let's just save as draft just to see where we are on this before we copy it over. So that all looks pretty good. Icons over here a bit smaller, but we could address that pretty handy. So we're going to go back into edit. Let's just make a little tweak on the size of these things and bring it down like this. Get rid of that gap that just appeared for some reason. Heart rate was way too big. Bring it down like that. Looks good. So this is kind of where we want it to be. So we can just duplicate the web part and we can bring it over, and we can do it again. And we can duplicate, and we can bring it over. And then everything else on this is exactly like you've seen me do to get them looking the same. You're just going to edit the text, and if the icons like these watch faces here are different, look, we'll change one of them again. Pencil, change, and then upload. Find the image you want to change it with. So I think we have this one here. Click open, add image, and you are good. Then just bring this to the right size. I kind of generally look at the text, that's the most in-line kind of thing I can find, and that'll kind of keep me right. So you can do that, change them all, and then we save as draft, and you can see there you get a page experience, which is very much what we have here on Apple. So I'd chalk that up as a win on that front. And then coming down to the last kind of bit that we do in here, let's just click edit, bring us down here. We'll put in the dividers, we may as well while we're here. We've already started cheating, we might as well continue. And actually this will be the real test to see if we've kept everything in line, and we did a pretty good job, so I'm happy enough with that. We have compare all models and shop Apple Watch. So again, we would just add in another section, make it 2 columns this time. And what we will do is we'll put in text, and I'm just going to rob a link that we have up here. Put it in here, and this is going to be compare all models. And then what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll align it to the right. And then I will take this, duplicate it, and then bring this over here. And then I can align this to the left. And we might just change the text just to be really pedantic. Shop Apple Watch. Brilliant. And then we're into our last kind of section, which is this pride is in the air section. And, you know, we can't have a full section that has a background, which is, you know, colors and all that kind of stuff. So we have to find a way to do it a different way. And a way that I found to do it, which worked reasonably well, if I've spent a bit more time on it with the images, I could make it look even better, I'm sure. But what I did for this to solve this is I basically have I built it out of a couple of different sections like this, okay? So basically I have an image which is going to be right across the bottom. So this is actually one column, okay? I've broken this up into image here, and one long image at the bottom. And then in the center, then we can put our text. And that's a way that you can do it. It works actually pretty well with something like this, which is a pattern like this. You might have to disperse it out to make the gap that appears between sections, you know, not as drastic, but it kind of works. So if you come over here and you see this, what I really have is in this pride section, I have a left-hand section, which is these kind of pill shapes, which I actually made in PowerPoint. And then we have the one which is below, which sits like this. So when you stack them together, it gives the illusion that it's just one background, but really you're breaking it up with 3 images. And it works pretty well, to be fair. So let's do that, right? So again, let's stick in our text web part. And what I'm going to do is grab my image. Let's see over here, the left one, stick it in like this. And then we'll get the right one over here. stick it in like that. And then we'll get the one on the bottom, which is this fella here, and I'll stick it in like this. So if you're familiar with, say, Photoshop or Figma or Adobe XD or any of them design packages, you can take something like this and create your version of it split into 3 different sections. Handy enough. If you're not, you can always do it in PowerPoint. This is how I did it in PowerPoint. I basically took this image and chopped the watch face out of it. You can see that I have this watch face in here. And then I disregarded the rest of the image. I created these little shapes here and just placed them around. And what you can do is you then take the image and you make a group out of it. So you group it together, right click and say save as picture. And that's going to save whatever you've selected as a PNG, which is how I literally got it in here. So it's just a little bit of playing around and trying to be creative to give an illusion of a section background. Not available at the time of recording directly in SharePoint, but it is coming, I believe. So we'll be excited for that. And so then the last thing we need to do really here is put in the text here. So we've kind of done the work on that already. It's really just this again, isn't it? So what we'll do is we'll duplicate this and then we will move it down, pop it in here, and then it's a case of what we've done again, right? So I'll do this quick and then we'll come back. Okay, so I've just finished editing the text to match what is in here, and we're not too far off. All we need to do, well, a couple of last things just to make it look right. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the section background to this gray, kind of match it up as much as we can here. Do the same here. Just click here and here. And, you know, there's quite a difference in here, right? And the reason this Webpart is up here, whereas there's a blank space here just because of the amount of text that we have in here. So this is where I'm going to ask forgiveness a second time on my second cheat. But again, it's not content, it's just structure. So we need a spacer. So basically to push this down. So I'm going to add a new Webpart and I'm going to type in spacer, and I have to assume this was invented for this exact reason. So what I want to do is you see here that the section below will start to move when I've gone past where this text is. So I want to get this just to the point where it's as close as it can be without pushing this down even more. So I'll just bring this up until I stop seeing the bottom section move, which is about here, and I'll do the exact same here. So again, kind of bring it down, 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 stop, and bring it back. Perfect. Okay, and that's it then. Okay, so what we'll do is we will publish our page, have a look at it here, and it's not perfect, right? If I wanted to make this even better, I'd spend more time making sure that the gap that I get here, because this is different sections, right? I try and match that gap with the pills in a section in here, so you can't even see it as much. But I don't think it's a bad attempt, and it definitely gives the impression that there is a background to this section, and this is all still then text, you know, which is great. So there you have it. Okay, that's my interpretation or my version of the Apple Watch page within SharePoint, all using the text web part, except the 2 little structural web parts I used. But you could have gotten away with not using them if you wanted to be strict with the text web part. So I hope you found that useful. Like I said, hopefully it's just a bit of inspiration where you can, you know, look at websites that you visit regularly enough. Look at how they structure their content, how they get their messages across. How close can you get within SharePoint? I bet it's closer than you think. So look, until next time, thanks for watching. Please like the video and subscribe if you can, or if you think it's worth it. It really helps with the channel. So yeah, until next time, bye.